Okay. The meeting is now being recorded. For those who don't know, my name is Tyler Nelson. I am the adult sports coordinator for the city of Ventura. I've been running these leagues for a few years now. I started back in 2019, and we are just into over a year since we restarted post COVID, and numbers are growing. Our program continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's because of all of you. Thank you for reaching out and becoming a part of the program. And my goal, our goal here at the city, is to keep providing as good of a program as we can, so that you enjoy yourselves, you go out there and you have fun, and you play some sports. If at any point during the meeting I am going too quickly, please feel free to, in the chat, ask me to slow down. I talk very fast, and I have no problem with slowing down if needed. Otherwise, we're going to begin this meeting by going over a few details that you need to know if you're a new captain, and should be good for returning captains as well. And any updates or changes that we made to the season, and anything you need to know going into next season as well. So everybody, once again, thank you all for being here. So, as a team captain, the most important thing you're going to need... Oh, sorry, really quick. I'm going to share my screen. All right, fantastic. So everybody, the most important thing you're going to need to know as a team captain is the number one resource for everybody, which is Team Sideline. I'm going to post the link to that in the chat right now, www.teamsideline.com/Ventura. All returning captains know this website very well. And for those who are new, I'm going to make sure I send this link as well, and I'll be referring back to it quite a lot. But this is where you're going to go to get access to everything you need to know as the captain. Your top priority as captain is to reach out to the teams, let them know, or reach out to your players, let them know where games are going to be, and what time they're going to be, so that everyone is on the same page. And that's all through Team Sideline, which is our scheduling resource website. Easiest way to get there, just type in this link up here, and it'll take you to this page right here. So, when you're on this page here, the biggest thing you need to know is going to be over here on the left. You see a little link here called with schedules. And right now I actually have the schedules for next season posted. And I'll be keeping this live for as long as I can. But once you click on it, you click soccer, and all the divisions are ranked right here. We have 2 co-ed divisions. We have 4 men's divisions, ABC and Comp. And then we only have 1 women's division. I know in the past I was trying to push 2 separate women's divisions. However, based on the registration and enrollment numbers, 1 division did seem more appropriate based on the number and based on the number of teams that signed up. And just so you know, our teams tend to hold on, everyone. I apologize. I'm going to leave the room. It's a little noisy here, so please do bear with me for a moment.
Oh. Sorry, Tyler.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Everyone, I do apologize for that. I had some coworkers walk by, and they were in a meeting, but we are all good now. It's just us. Okay. I'm going to return back to the Team Sideline page. Okay. As I was saying before, our divisions tend to go in alphabetical order. A tends to be a lower ranking, then B would be higher, then C. This time we do have a competitive division. The way we build our divisions, a lot of people try to request divisions. However, it's not quite as simple as that. Divisions aren't as simple as um, one division is always just necessarily a certain expectation or level of play. The way we build divisions is we take all the teams we feel will be competitive with one another based on experience, age, um, uh, health, um, gaining and losing players from season to season. And our biggest factor is always previous season's performance. So we take all these things into account for when we put divisions together. So even if you've tried or think that you requested a certain level or certain division, you may not be there. Um, but that's because based on all of the teams that signed up, we felt that your team would be most competitive and fare the best in the level that it has been placed in. I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to also be sending an email out with more information about this, but we do not make division switches at this point. We've done a lot of research into how teams have played in the past, and we've reached out to the newer teams to check and see where we feel they fit in. And if you don't think that your team belongs in the division that they are placed in, you can reach out to me and express this. I will keep an eye on your team, but no changes will be made yet. However, changes can be made if we really do feel your team is out of place. We can make a change after the first or second week if we feel that your team does belong in a different division and another team would fill your place better. So switches aren't always as simple as you don't belong as well. To swap your team into another division does require another team to be playing above or below that division's expected level performance as well. So when you're over here, you can click on the divisions, and you can see first all of the teams will have a win, loss, and tie record. They'll be received points for games, and then the top 4 teams at the end of each season in each division will make it to the playoffs. So if you haven't sent me a team name, I do just list the captain's name. But as you scroll down, you can see the date, the time, the 2 teams playing, and the location. All games are going to be played at Camino Real Park for the fall. For those who aren't familiar with Camino Real Park, you can click on this icon right here, and it will open up a map that shows you where Camino Real Park is located. Okay. If you're not sure Field 1 versus Field 2 versus Field 3, I will have staff at the park on hand every single day who can help direct you to the correct field number. I also will be posting maps of the fields on each of these pages to give you an idea of where your field will be located as well. There also should be signs posted at the fields each day to let you know. Every week after games, my staff will post scores, and the scores and results are automatically updated. If you think there is an issue with a score being reported, please let me know, and I'll be happy to correct it as soon as I can. As you go down, you see your schedule. You notice your team may have a bye week. This means that because there are an odd number of teams, you won't have a game, but every team will receive 8 games throughout the course of the season. It does just extend the week. Since we play on Mondays and Halloween is on a Monday, we are taking Halloween night off. We do know there are a lot of families, and it is a big holiday for children and families, so we like to take that day off. Okay. And I have not yet posted a playoff schedule, but that will be posted for the end of the season. Usually the playoffs happen the week after the last regular season game. So that's what you want to do if you. So that's basically how you're going to access your team schedules. I do have a quick update for anyone playing in the women's division. Um, I know in the past the women's division, since it plays on Thursdays, there isn't as much field space options at Camino Real Park, and the main field is in the back of the park near the dog park. Um, I've had this issue brought up to me in the past that it's not the best field. I am aware of that, and our parks crew are working tirelessly right now to improve the condition of that field. It's been torn up, reseeded. Hopefully, there will be some brand new grass for everybody. And we're going to try to shift the location just slightly, a few feet off to the side, to try and get a previously unplayed on field, a little bit a part of that field used up. Because it does take a little bit longer to get ready, unfortunately, the women's program is not going to be starting next Thursday. It will be starting on Thursday, September 22nd. Don't worry, you're not losing this game. It's just being pushed back to another week in November. And if we have to do playoffs after Thanksgiving, then we will. Okay. So now that we're on team sideline here, right now the next thing we're going to be going to is the team roster. And right now, Team Sideline has everything you need as a manager. So it's advertising for all of our leagues right now. And as you scroll down more, you can see that we have some information here about soccer registration. If you're here, it means you've already registered. Thank you. The next thing you're going to want to find is this download a roster. Many people have already sent in a roster. Thank you. For those who haven't, please, if you would, go ahead, go to this link, find the roster, download it, and then the nice thing with this roster is you can just type in all the information, save it, and send it to me. You don't need to print it out. You don't need to take a photo and send it to me. You can save it on your computer and email it. Once you have a team name, you can type it in, fill out some more information. Please type in your players' names. We prefer full name. However, if you can't do that, you can always do first initial, last name. We do like to have as much information on your players as possible. It makes our work easier when it comes to playoff time at the end of the season. And I'll be going into more details about why that is later. But until then, just please be clear, be concise. If you're going to write this with handwriting, please be legible. Okay. The next thing you're going to need access to, which is everybody's favorite, is the manager's guide, which is just right down there. Okay. So at the top here, you see Team Sideline, link to Team Sideline. You can just click it and it will take you there. Just like that. Otherwise, this also does have the breakdown of how our leagues are structured through multiple seasons, the nights that teams are playing on, the number of divisions, and the locations. This can change from season to season based on enrollment. Usually this is going to be the standard. Some things to keep in mind. Please check your schedules and standings weekly. Every now and then there are changes based on whether other things that may come up. I'll be sure to reach out personally if there are changes that do affect your team's schedule, but please do check at least once a week, preferably on game days. Every team is responsible for referee fees. These are $20 in cash paid to the referee at game time. Please have this prepared ahead of time. I recommend that teams decide on one color ahead of time. And if you actually would, please email me your team's preferred color, but then also have everybody on the team bring a white or a very light colored shirt as well. This helps the referees to make calls throughout the course of the games to differentiate the two teams. The reason that you should, please, if you can, email me your team color is I can post this onto Team Sideline. That way, when you are looking at your opponents for the week, you can see what color they are, and you can see if you need to be prepared with a backup ahead of time. Lastly, at the end of the night, we do have portable goals set up for the fields. Teams that play in the last game on each field at the end of the night, which is the 9:15 game, please help push goals away into the correct locations. I will have staff on hand to help out, and there will be a map posted on Team Sideline. Um, but the goals are very easy to push for a large group of people, and it does not take very long. Otherwise, it's up to my staff to do it by themselves at the end of the night. It's not very easy to do. So please help. This isn't something that the winning team doesn't have to do. This is something that all teams that participate have to help out with. If you do not know where the goal is pushed, please ask the referee or ask my staff. Rosters are limited to 12 players. If this needs to change at any point throughout the course of the season, please let me know. All players are required to sign the team roster and sign a COVID waiver. If you can get signatures on the roster ahead of time, please send it to me. Otherwise, we can always get the roster and waivers signed on the first or second week at the park. My staff will have waivers and rosters on hand. Every team that signs up will play at least 8 games, not including playoffs. And for each game, if you are there, it will be easy, but if you're not there, please also remind players, somebody on your team. The referee before the game will give your team a scorecard for the game, in which case you will write down every player's name. That's there. Please be legible. My staff track the players who are attending each game, and when you write a player's name down, we consider them present for that game. We require players to be present for at least 3 games before they are eligible to play in the playoffs. If a player doesn't play at least 3 regular season games, then they cannot play in the playoffs. This is why we like players' names as much as possible. This is why we want you to write legibly, because if we can't discern a player's name on a card, then they don't get attendance for that game. If you use nicknames instead of full names, then we don't consider them in attendance. And the last thing that's really important to know is if for any reason you know your team is not going to be able to play in a game, please let me know ahead of time. We do charge forfeit fees. So if you give 24 hours notice, basically, because you let us know, we don't charge you a forfeit fee. But if you have less than 24-hour notice, or if you don't show up at all, then you'll be responsible for the entire officials' fees at the next game, which is $40. If you don't pay it ahead of time, then we may forfeit your next game as well. So I will be reaching out after a forfeit if there is a no-show, but please be prepared to bring $40 to your next game, hand it to staff, and they'll deliver it to the correct referee. If there is a weather concern or issue, please check Team Sideline by 3 p.m. I will update Team Sideline to let you know if games are happening or not. If we have a rain delay, then we will make it up at the end of the season. Most of the rules are pretty standard soccer rules. However, we do still have a few variations. I'll go over this quickly because you can always refer back to this. There are 6 players on the field, including the goalkeeper. There are unlimited substitutions. However, please wait for a dead ball. We don't do hockey subs. You can't just run in when you feel like it. The ball has to be dead, either out of bounds, a goal is scored, a foul or penalty are called. Then you can make a substitution. Co-ed teams can play with as few as 1 female player on the field, but you can never have more than 3 male players. So if you're short women, that's okay, you can still play. However, you cannot replace women with men. However, if you're short male players, you can always throw more men onto the field. There is no minimum number of male players, and there is no maximum number of female players. Games are 20-minute halves with a 5-minute halftime, and games will start no later than 10 minutes after the scheduled start time. If you're more than 10 minutes late, you forfeit the game if you don't have 4 players there ready to go. No slide tackling. This is considered a dangerous play, and this is a recreational league. We want people to have fun and not worry about getting hurt. It's an automatic yellow card, which is a 2-minute sit-out. We allow substitution. However, if you get a second yellow card, it's a red card, disqualification, with no substitution, and suspension for any red card as well. If you need to make a slide tackle not near any players to keep the ball in play, that's okay. But if there are any players around you, if it looks like you're going for another player, it will be a yellow. Throw-ins are replaced by kick-ins, and kick-ins are indirect. Sideline kick-ins are indirect. All other free kicks are direct. And the team defending a free kick must stand at least 10 feet back from the spot of the ball. Usually the referee will mark off the location that you must be standing. And after a goal is scored, goalkeepers will roll the ball, put the ball into play from their goal. When an offensive player enters the goalkeeper area, it is considered a dead ball, and the play stops. The defending team receives the ball in the goalie's box. If a defensive player enters the goal area to try to make a play on the ball, then the offensive team gets a free kick from approximately 43 feet away from the goal. Keep in mind the arc that is there in front of the goal is designed to keep the goalkeeper safe as well as make shots slightly harder. Players are allowed to enter and exit the goalkeeper's area, but not to make a play on the ball. I do want to make that clear. If you're just at one corner, you're running to reset yourself in the middle of the field, it's okay. But if there is a ball in the area, if it's very clear you're trying to make a play to defend or attack, then that will be a penalty. Goalkeepers can't handle a ball that's been kicked back by their own teammate. However, they can receive it with their foot, and they must also kick it back out of the arc within 6 seconds. Only one player can be in the goalkeeper's area at a time, but keep in mind only the goalkeeper can use their hands in this area. If the goalkeeper leaves, another player can enter and to try to play defense, but they cannot use their hands. And as far as substitutions are concerned, oftentimes a lot of teams will share women between teams. However, only rostered players will be eligible for playoffs. If somebody is a substitute on your team just to help fill spots, please mark their name with an S on the scorecard. Next thing that I know everybody loves to hear me talk about, and I love talking about it too, is the code of conduct. This is disciplinary action that we may be forced to take if players on your team cannot control their behavior at City of Ventura sporting events. This is a recreational league, everyone. Even the most competitive division is still a recreational league. People are there to have fun. They're not there to get yelled at. They're not there to get yelled at. They're not there to get into fights. They're there to have a good time, enjoy themselves, get some stress off from work, spend time with their friends and family. If your level or style of play makes that difficult for another person, then we may be forced to remove you from play. And thank you for everyone who is posting questions in the chat. I will get to those questions later. So please, if they come up, please post them, and I will answer them at the end of end of this. As the manager of the team, you are ultimately responsible for your team and your fans' behavior. If there's an issue with anybody, you cannot hide behind the excuse of I don't control them. If they are there to support you, if they are there to be on your team, you do control them. Be clear with them. Let them know that if they cannot control themselves, if they cause problems, whether or not they're playing or not, your team may receive a penalty based on their behavior. So if they really are there to support you, they need to control themselves or leave, or else teams may forfeit games. We tend to have a ladder of discipline. However, based on how egregious or offensive an action or behavior is, any of these chains can be skipped and go straight to suspensions if needed. Typically, though, players will receive a warning. If the warning is not enough, they'll receive a yellow card, which is temporary removal from play. If they continue to misbehave, they will receive a red card. And if you do receive a red card, is a minimum of a 1-week suspension from league play. And if you happen to receive multiple red cards in a season, this may result in you being suspended from complete league play throughout the course of the season. Outside of basic misbehavior causing problems, there are some things that are considered major infractions. These are listed below, but I will be going into more detail with them. If a referee feels that anyone on your team is in violation of a major infraction, then they can suspend you for a week. You'll receive a very fun phone call from me, and then whoever was responsible will miss at least 1 week of games. Major infractions are physical contact with official, player, staff, or fan. Like I said, this is a adults recreational sports league. This is not an MMA event. You are not supposed to be hitting anybody, threatening to hit anybody, or cause any kind of physical violence towards another person. Anybody who does threaten to hit, take a swing at, even if you miss, towards another person, it is at least a 1 week suspension, oftentimes longer, and an immediate suspension. Verbal abuse, objectionable demonstration. This is using profanities, using obscene gestures, causing a scene, causing a riot, uh, basically drawing attention away from the game towards yourself to try to make a point. Anybody who's seen doing anything like that, causing any problems as such, will also receive a 1 week suspension at least, and a very fun phone call from me. Unnecessary rough play. This kind of builds off of physical contact, but even though this is a recreational league, we understand soccer. It's a physical sport. It's a competitive sport. You're jockeying for position with another player. You're trying to get the ball. However, I think we all understand that there's a certain level of play that is tolerated and is not tolerated. Oftentimes, referees will give warnings if you're playing a little too physical, and especially in the women's and co-ed leagues, I have had many talks with my referees about calling things sooner rather than later. We want to keep players safe. We want people to feel safe in our leagues. If you have a player on your team who plays recklessly, they will receive penalty. They will receive punishment, and may be suspended if they cannot control how they play the sport. So please keep that in mind. If you can't make a play in a safe manner, don't make that play. And last, and also very importantly, consuming alcohol is not allowed in City of Ventura parks. If you are caught using alcohol, if any player is seen drinking alcohol, they will for sure be kicked out of the game, and referees have the authority to forfeit your entire team. So I wouldn't even risk it. People don't tend to behave their best while under the influence of alcohol, so don't push it. Don't bring it to games. If you need to drink, go ahead and wait until after the game is over. Rincon Brewing is very close to the fields. Wait until the game is over and then go enjoy yourself. If you feel you received a penalty that is a little too strict, you can always appeal within 3 days of receiving the suspension. We will reassess the action, the behavior, and the penalty. If we think that the penalty was too strict and you have a good point, then we may reduce the penalty. However, once again, if you are kicked out for any major infraction, it is a minimum of a 1 week suspension no matter what. This applies to longer suspensions. All right, now that all the fun stuff is through, your team is limited to 12 players. We do this because if teams get a little too big, they get a little too overpowered. So we do want to make sure teams are at least on the same playing field. Because of this, we only order 12 prizes at the end of the year. If you do happen to have 14 players on your team and you win the championship and there are 12 prizes, 2 players don't get them. However, we understand that players move, jobs change, work schedules change, life happens. If you need to drop a player, add a player at any point, please just email me, and I'm happy to make that change for you and adjust things as needed. Oftentimes, a lot of people have questions about how we do rankings because we don't just do points. Points are always first for how our standings work. But after this, this is our order of tiebreaker. So if you and another team are tied for points, it'll go down to this procedure. So first, it's winning percentage. Then it'll be head-to-head. Head-to-head means you play another team. Since you're going to play every team in the you should be scheduled to play every team at least once based on your division. This should settle it. However, for whatever reason, there's a schedule change and this isn't resolved because of which team wins head to head. It will go head to head differential, which is the higher score between two games played, so on and so on. And last, which everyone really cares about most, is the playoffs. I brought up before, please write your players' names legibly on these scorecards. We track players' attendance at these games because we want to know who's actually playing for your team. We don't want players to make playoffs and at the end of the year just bring in a bunch of ringers who are going to crush everybody so they can win the championship. The team that you sign up with and play the season with is the same team that needs to play in the playoffs. So that for this, players are required to play in at least 3 regular season games. That's not a lot. It's been more in the past, but because life happens, we've reduced it to 3, and we think that's a very fair number. The top 4 teams in each division will make the playoffs, and on the playoff and the day of the playoffs, all the playoff teams will show up. The players will check in with my staff. My staff will refer to the old scorecards that have everybody's names written on them. If your player has played in at least 3 games, they get to play in the playoffs. They'll receive a wristband and they get to play. If they have not played in at least 3 games, they do not get a wristband and they do not get to play. Playoffs are usually the week after the regular season finishes. It is a single elimination bracket played in one night. Teams ranked first and fourth play at first game at 6:30. Second and third will play at 7:30, and then championship game is usually at 8:30. And there will be prizes for the champions in each division. I hope I explained that well for everybody. This is the moment now when, if I didn't explain everything well, people can bombard me with questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I am going, and like I said before, if you have questions, please post them in the chat for everybody to see, and I will just go through in order answering them. Kyle asked if there's a map for field locations. Yes, it will be posted on each team's schedule page. There will be a map posted at the top so that you know where all fields are located. What about subbing goalies versus defender filling in? I don't think I quite understand that question. Are you asking if are you going to sub your goalkeeper out, as in replace your goalkeeper? If you are replacing your goalkeeper with a new player, then I would say that new player is your officially your goalkeeper. The only the goalkeeper can use their hands rule applies mainly to if a player, if in the middle of play a goalkeeper leaves the arc, another player can step in. Which league is more competitive? Co-ed B is the more competitive league. For men's divisions, A is the lowest, then B, C, and comp is the highest.
Yeah, because that's specific. That's specific.
You can add new players mid-season, but please don't go over 12. And if they play in at least 3 games, they get to play in the playoffs. Schedules are posted right now on Team Sideline. Right here. Bam. Go ahead and find your team and find your schedule. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Ricky, yes, there is going to be a field 6. It is going to be in the back by the dog park. I am aware this is not the best field. However, it is being renovated right now. Parks crew are working very hard to get it ready for the season. And at least as far as the men's and co-ed divisions go, you will not play as many games on this field as you will any other field. So it will be rotated through. Okay. Any other questions at the moment? I hope I answered things succinctly, but I do understand there still may be more questions. Please feel free to post. If anybody is calling in and you have questions, please feel free to ask me out loud. All right. If there are no questions, everyone. Uh, oh. Um, I had did not. Wow, I did not realize that any team had 6 games at 6:15. In that case, I'll go through and make adjustments to the schedule. So hopefully there are not no team has 6 games at 6:15. So I'll go through and make adjustments so that no one team is overloaded with too many early or late games. Uniforms are not required. They are highly recommended and enjoyable. Okay. If there are no other questions at this moment, uh, sorry, Bill, I don't understand your question. Ah, thank you. If there are any schedule changes, I'll be sure to email any affected teams about the schedule change. Caesar, good question. Yes, I highly recommend that you choose one team color to represent your entire team, black, green, pink, blue. Um, and then also have everybody bring a white shirt as well, just in case the other team also uses that color. Um, please send me the rosters as soon as you can. Okay. All right, everybody. If that's it, then thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for your time. Um, uh, Good question, Caesar. As far as preferences go for if two teams have the same color, yes, it will defer to the home team. However, if the away team doesn't have a backup and the home does, then unfortunately the home team will be required to wear white. Uh, Like I said before, with having more than 12 players, yes, it's okay, but please keep in mind there are only 12 prizes at the end of the season. So if you win, that means somebody doesn't get a prize. Okay. Everyone, thank you again for being here. And otherwise, have a good evening. I'll be sure to send a follow up email tomorrow. And have a great night.